Okay, there we go. All right, let's jump into it. So here's our schedule for today. We're going to talk very briefly about bell ringer. We're going to hit IDs and SQs. We're going to do all section 4 stuff. Okay, so hit IDs and SQs. We're going to hit section 4 in your packet, which will only leave you with a couple of activities. And we'll see. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to do the activities tomorrow. And I got something exciting. We're going to try something different, mostly for my sanity. And because you guys don't give me a whole lot of interaction back, and sometimes it's really depressing for me. So I'm going to do something that I think might get us jacked up a little bit. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Man. Okay. Before we get into it and before I run through my list of reminders, announcements, and all the things, do any of you guys want paper copies of anything? I know it's a little bit different because we're on the end of it versus just getting into it, but you're more than welcome. I have the paper copies if anybody wants the paper copies. Julian, do you want both the packet and the IDs? Just packet. All right. Is there anybody else that wants copies of anything?
I'm good. I already have the packet printed out.
Okay. Gage? Good? Okay. If you change your mind at any time, let me know. All right. So I'm going to pop this off long enough to go over a few things and get us into our discussion, lecture, notes, whatever it is. I'm going to keep it pretty short and sweet. All right. So today I'm going to finish up on the March calendar. Yeah, already. So I'm going to finish up. Oh, okay. I'm going to finish up on the March calendar and get that to you. If you want a paper copy of it, I'll have it for you tomorrow. And then grades. I got to start throwing in all the 15 stuff. I've got it. I just got to start getting it all in Power School and everything. So I got to put in the 15 grades and get caught up on that. But we are officially into the second 6 weeks. We're in the home stretch, light at the end of this very super long dark tunnel that I feel like we've been in this school year.
The first 6 months felt like it took forever.
Well, yeah, but I feel like now, that we have less than 11 weeks to go, that, it's going to start speeding up. We're in the home stretch of it. We've got, less than 2/3 left, and we can get it done. All right. The biggest thing is making sure that nobody has any more questions, comments, or concerns about what's due tomorrow. What is it, people?
What is it? Project.
Honors project 2. Yes. And I apologize because I realize, and you should know this by now, I am super bad about saying that I'm going to make myself a note of something and show it or talk about it or get to it and then forgetting it. But I do that to my text messages. And that's why I get like hate mail every once in a while, because I'll read it and mentally respond and not actually follow through. So anyway, hey, guess what? I did something today that you guys would never in a million years even consider or dream of doing.
What?
And I've done it twice this week. I went off without my phone. Just didn't even, just sat it. Yeah, I did it Sunday too. I went off and left it Sunday and completely, guess what? I have to go a whole entire 8 awake hours without it. I feel like y'all already having like heart spasms. Just the idea of it. Jeez. Jeez. Well, I don't know how I did it because I had it sitting down right beside me, but I just grabbed my bag and walked on out with it. But anyway, it is what it is. What I will pull up in just a second is what I had sent to Gage the other day about the setup that is in the quote fake book. But there's tons of options. Again, this is if you have not yet done it. I've showed you the poster board version before that I've had former students do of the Facebook project. But again, I realize that it's a lot harder to do something like this because that would require printing and actually having a piece of poster board. Go ahead.
So I did it like all but the photos in the album yesterday.
Right.
It's not there anymore.
Oh, shoot.
So, I mean, I was gonna go home and do it on Facebook anyway.
That's the only thing, and the only reason why I still threw it out there as a suggestion is because it's kind of a hit and miss. Like I've had students use it before and it's been fine and they haven't had a problem with it. But then I've also had some do it that, and I don't necessarily know what the reason is just because I haven't gone in myself and set one up. But yeah, that's the other story that I've had others go in, completely do it, have it set up, and then for whatever reason, it not save it or not save all of it. But you said you lost all of it.
Yeah, when I'm trying to put
Oh,
the
that
same link
sucks.
back in, it just gives me an error page.
Wow. You didn't happen to have like any kind, you probably wouldn't have thought about this in advance, but any kind of like screenshots of anything?
I
Jeez.
thought about
Okay.
it, but I figured it had a save button, so.
Mm.
But I was gonna do it on Facebook.
Oh, God. Okay. Yeah. So that's, that is a lesson to be learned. So I know I warned about it. It's not always the same every time you go in and do it, but word to the wise, make sure that you're not cutting it to the last second tomorrow around midnight. I literally had, not that this is the first time because I had American 2 last semester too, but people waiting till the last second to submit something and turn something in. And, if it kicks you over, if it's after midnight, nobody needs a 0 on a project right now. But anyway, keep that in mind if you've got other questions. Or if anybody has other suggestions about how you're doing it or how it could be done, I'm always.
If you are a freshman and you have not brought your Chromebook or your charger to the commons area, please bring it right now. All freshmen with a Chromebook and a charger who has not brought it to the commons area, please come now. Last call.
Yeah, but if I can get it to pull up that ClassNet tools in the fake book, so if you get it done, again, word to the wise, if you're able to get it done, do it in one setting or sitting, whatever. Anyway, and you can like screenshot it as like a safety net in case for some reason it does not save, unfortunately.
I thought about taking pictures of it, but last time I tried to take pictures of something,
Yeah.
I had to redo it.
Jeez. Oh God, I hate to hear that. And then the other thing is, so after tomorrow, 2 down, 2 to go. Don't forget that you still have until Sunday, that if you're interested in that extra credit opportunity, all right, you've got until Sunday to do it. And I have given you a list of suggestions, but they're just suggestions.
Is it like gonna be a whole other extra grade, or will it be like points towards our lowest grade?
Yeah, it's something that you can bank and use it anytime, second or third 6 weeks to put on if there's a test that you bomb, a quiz, a project.
Like it'll be an extra grade to like bring it up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's like I said, just kind of putting money in the bank. And I think I'm gonna end up doing 3 from now until the end. And in past years, I've had a lot of people throw it on midterm. Midterm's a little bit of a beast. And there's a few other things that we've got coming up throughout the semester. So it's something to consider, nothing that you have to do, but I'm a huge movie lover. Like as soon as, this is how much of a movie geek I am. As soon as I made that list of movies, like, ooh, and my husband hates this because I will rewatch movies. If there's a movie I love, I've probably seen it at least 15 times, like Blades of Glory. It's one of those stupid funny. God almighty, I love those. The stupid funny ones are like the best, especially if I'm having a bad day. But as soon as I made that list, I immediately went and watched, I think it was Race, Jesse Owens' story, because it's the 1936 Olympics and he's over in Germany and he's supposed to meet Hitler to be congratulated because he walks home with 3 gold medals. And Hitler refuses to meet with him or any other person of another race to congratulate them for obvious reasons, because of course their whole thing for why they wanted to host the 1936 Olympics in Berlin was to prove to the rest of the world that their so-called theory was right. And one of the guys that he beats in the long jump, I'm almost positive it's the long jump, a guy named Lutz, Lux, Lutz. They actually were like buddy, and he was friends with him, and he was a white German male. As soon as the Olympics were over, they drafted him and put him on the front line, and he ended up being killed in a battle. That was like his punishment. That was a way for them to get him out of the picture for what he did without them actually having to execute him themselves. You know, they threw him out where they know he wasn't coming back from it, you know. So anyway, that is a fantastic movie. If you've never seen it, it's so good, so good. Okay, all right, to the point. Bell ringer question: what epidemic was spread at the end of World War I? How did it impact so many? So we were talking about the Spanish flu, and I might, if I have a chance, we'll hit on it just a little bit longer today. But the Spanish flu hits 1918, and of course, the biggest thing is that all these soldiers are taking it back home to their home countries with them, and it spreads like wildfire. We have personally experienced that same situation with, you know, the same thing they saw in 1918 with the Spanish flu. So, and again, that's how it impacted so many, is because these soldiers are bringing it home with them, you know, just like with COVID, right? That you might be carrying it, but not ever show positive symptoms. And so that's happening with a lot of these guys when they're coming back home, is that they're carrying it with them. They might not get it themselves, but they do spread it. We have 500,000 that die from it, a fourth of the United States. That's from Maine all the way to Florida, you know, and over to like Kentucky and Tennessee and down. A fourth of the United States that falls victim to it. Millions die from it. So again, a major impact from the end of World War I. All right, so let's head over. I'm going to share my screen. I hope it works today, fingers crossed. It did not, for whatever reason, work for me the other day. But let's talk about how we wrap up World War I with the peace treaty and all the things. Come on, please work. My internet, for whatever reason, hasn't been working very well.
Yeah,
Of all days where I want to get a lot accomplished and done, is kind of what it feels like. If you have the packet of notes, you can scroll to it. I want to say it should be titled Peace Treaty, if I'm not mistaken. Or you can pull it up in Google Slides. So I'm going to hit just a couple of key pieces because we're getting ready to talk about them in section 4 IDs and in the packet as well anyway. I didn't say the number because I actually...
That's what it says up here, so is that what it is on the page?
No, I think it's off. I think it's going to be like 50 something.
What did you say the title was?
Peace treaty. So go past all the reforms, go past that. You're close. Go to the next
Oh, I
one.
just got it.
That's it. Yep.
Fight for peace.
Fight for peace. What page is that?
62.
62. Okay. So yeah, and you're, like I said, my numbers are off because I have the old version and that's the new version. All right. So let's get into this very quickly. Give me just a few minutes. And then we'll hit all of section 4 stuff. Have I got it? Yeah, I do. Okay. All right. And this is what I was trying to pull up the other day. For whatever reason, it wouldn't work then anyway. So let's talk a little bit about the end of the war, the treaty, and then Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson, I love. I think he is a fantastic individual. Who wants, on this fabulous Wednesday, some fun facts?
Me.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to cry like happy tears because I love fun facts. All right, fun facts about Woodrow Wilson, okay? Super smart guy, has his PhD, was a college professor, just all the things. Well, his first wife passes away, and I forget exactly what year, but a lot of people gave him like a lot of crap because he remarried within 3 months. And they're like, okay, I see you. You know what I'm saying? Like, people get suspicious about things like that. But anyway, so his first wife passes away. He remarries pretty quickly. But his second marriage is almost more like a business deal in the fact that they are very much alike. It just seemed more like they were friends and business partners than actual like husband and wife, lovey-dovey romantic side, because his wife was also super smart, brilliant lady. And for us as citizens, that works out super good that she's in on all the things because of what happens to Wilson his last, I forget how many months, 5-6 months left at the end of his presidency. He does have a second term because he tours the country. Where is it? It's here at the bottom. Wilson hates that the U.S. Senate will not approve the Treaty of Versailles. We have two groups. We talked about the irreconcilables and the reservationists. These two groups, for these reasons, some thought the treaty was too harsh, which Wilson was like that 100% because he's all about wanting world peace. But the other group thought that it changed nothing. They thought that it's not fair. It doesn't give the U.S. our reward for participating, that we should get stuff out of it. So anyway, these two groups are fighting back and forth. And if you know anything from civics, hopefully you're making your civics teacher proud. Who's everybody had for civics? Grindstaff. Okay. All right. Nobody's had fortune? Okay. Yeah.
Fortune.
So hopefully you guys can make them proud on this. All right. But okay. All right. We didn't need to throw out that information. Anyway, all right. Hopefully at some point in time, whether it was civics or not, you have learned that it is the Senate that has to approve treaties. The president himself can. He has to go to the Senate. The Senate has to approve it. And they decided just not to sign the treaty. They're like, all right, we'll just declare that, yes, the war is over, but the U.S. will not sign it. We are not happy for various reasons as to what the treaty actually says. So Wilson, who is trying to keep the U.S. from being embarrassed to the rest of the world, because he's like, what, all these other countries are signing the treaty, we're saying it's over, you know, and so he goes around and is like parading and campaigning all over the United States, begging the people to beg their senator to sign the treaty. Well, while he's out, he physically exhausts himself, has a stroke while he is out touring the United States, has a stroke, comes back to Washington, to the White House, and is pretty much just kind of out of it. And so what we believe, because his wife would not let anybody in his bedroom once he gets back to the White House, especially if he's having, she says, a bad day. So we actually think that it was his wife that was making all those decisions in those last final months that he was president before he's finished with his second term. It is speculated that we think that she was the one actually calling the shots, because she would come out of the bedroom and say, Wilson said this, Wilson agreed to this, with anything that needed to be done in those last few months. So it kind of works out in our benefit that he did choose for his second marriage, regardless of reasons for why it was so fast. That she was a very smart, capable lady, because we believe she was the one actually finishing out his last few months in office. But it is really sad to see him go out that way because of such a smart guy that he was. But anyway, so the Senate never approves the treaty. They just declare that the war is over. And that was I don't know if I showed that. Did I show that a minute ago? That's him parading around. Him and his wife, like I said, traveled all across the United States trying to get people to encourage their senator. So what do we get from Wilson's legacy? What does he leave us with? Because we're getting ready to talk about the transition to the next president in 1920. So in my opinion, there is a very definite clear list of like our top 10 best presidents of all time and our top 10 worst presidents of all time. And we're about to talk about one of those that is in the list. I don't know what number I would actually give him, but he falls in the list of the top 10 worst. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be Harding. Harding is one of the worst U.S. presidents because he doesn't even abide by the newest amendment to the Constitution. Another fun fact. Another fun fact. Okay, so he dies at the end of his first term in office, and his wife would not let them do an autopsy on his body to figure out, because they were like, was it a heart attack? Was it stroke? What was it that got him? But it is speculated that she poisoned him because she found out that he was having all these affairs, and she's like, I'll get you back. Watch this. So it is speculated that she poisoned him, and that was his actual cause of death, and she wouldn't let them do an autopsy because that would obviously point the finger at her for that. Y'all don't think that's entertaining?
I mean, it's interesting.
I
So
don't feel like you're giving me excited expressions. Okay. Anyway, all right, that's fine. So to wrap it up, what does Wilson give us? What happens under Wilson? We do ratify prohibition, again, the very beginning of the banning of the sale, consumption, and manufacturing of alcohol. Who remembers what number amendment is that? Getting rid of alcohol.
20.
Now remember with age, I said you can't do it at this age, but you can at this age.
21.
21 brings it back.
18.
18th Amendment is what gets rid of it. Prohibition is the 18th Amendment. 21 brings it back. I don't know. I thought I had shared that story. Did I not?
Wait.
No,
You said that.
maybe. I don't know. At some point in time. So prohibition is 18. No more alcohol with 18th Amendment. 19th Amendment is women getting the right to vote. Okay. And then, of course, he is known as being president. They called it the Great War for obvious reasons, because we did not anticipate immediately that there was going to be a World War II. So World War I is known by a couple of different names. The Great War, the war to end all wars. And of course, we know World War II comes eventually. He is credited for creating the League of Nations as part of his 14-point peace plan, which we only listened to like 3 out of his 14 points. And I say, in my opinion, that had we listened to his 14-point peace plan, there's a large possibility that World War II would have not happened. There's so many things that we do to Germany. And when I say we, I mean we as in the allies, that all allies together, we make them accept blame for the war. We make them demilitarize. We almost treat them like you would a child, punishing them like you would a child. If I came up to you and tried to treat you the way I would a 2-year-old, popping your hand, don't eat that cookie, no, taking away stuff from you, making you sit in the corner in front of all of your friends. You know what I'm saying? Like if I treated you like that, that's going to start building up some very intense feelings of frustration, anger, wanting revenge. Well, that's kind of how we treat Germany. We treat them almost like a kid. And so they're going to want revenge. They're going to want to be able to blame something outside of themselves and want to get back at everybody. So anyway, predictions of a future war. We do say that the Treaty of Versailles is a direct cause as to why World War II gets up and going. Again, I know I tried to give you kind of a short, quick, fast version as to why that comes about, some of those reasons. But now we're transitioning. So that is the end of World War I. We are transitioning into the 1920s, what we call the Roaring 20s. The early to mid 1920s were a super exciting time to be alive. You might want to change your mind towards the end of the 1920s, but the very beginning to middle is really exciting. We get the Jazz Age. And even though we do have prohibition brings on stuff that gets people jacked up, because we're going to secret speakeasies and clubs, and we're listening to jazz music and drinking illegal alcohol, and we're souping up cars because we're trying to outrace the police. It's a very exciting time, somewhat scary if you're in big cities and you have to deal with mobsters like Al Capone and Machine Gun Kelly. That's his picture over there, which did not know apparently is a very cool singer right now. Had no clue. Googled Machine Gun Kelly for a project, and that's the guy that pops up. I'm like, no, that's not it. Especially because the one I found, he had pink hair in. So anyway, so the 1920s are a very exciting time period to get into. All right, let me stop sharing my screen and let's get into all the things that we have today so I can get you set up for tomorrow. So we're going to go to IDs. We're going to go to your packet. So however you want to get to them, you pull that up. It's all section 4 stuff. We're wrapping up everything with section 4 with the IDs, but your packet, we've got a couple of activities that we'll wrap up tomorrow in the packet. And we should be able to go through this pretty quickly because section 4 is pretty short and sweet. There's only 3 questions in section 4 IDs. All right, 28 says, why did the end of the war lead to race riots?
What number?
Oh, it should be section 4, 28. IDs and excuse.
I don't know why I didn't see that. It was right in front of my face.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, so why did the end of the war lead to race riots? How to put that in a simplified explanation is the hard part. Shoot. We started focusing on problems we had before the war. That's the only way to really simplify that. Started focusing on problems we had before the war. Okay, so I told you when we got into World War I, we kind of hit the pause button, right? We're not focusing on race issues. We're not focusing on pay and, you know, any other problems that progressives were trying to fix, right? World War I happens, and we put the pause button on everything. We're like, hey, we're just focusing on the war. Don't worry about any other issues. So when the war is over, you tell me, what are the problems that are going to start popping up with African Americans and other minorities now that the war is over and everybody's going back to normal?
Didn't like,
Oh, jobs. What else? Go ahead.
I was gonna say that about like the women like had jobs during the war, but then like when the men came home, they tried to like send them back home.
Yeah, most of, and I don't mean all, but most of the ladies are going to be like, all right, I'm good. And they're going to go back to being that good little housewife, you know, taking care of the house, the kids, the husband. Ooh, you want to know something else I read?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, there was an excerpt on Facebook, all right, that had an excerpt from a 1950s housewife magazine, How to Be a Good Housewife in the 1950s. And it was like, don't bother your husband when he comes home. Let him come home, prop him up on a pillow. Don't be loud. Make the kids go outside, cut everything off. Let him relax and chill. You need to freshen yourself up, all right? Powder yourself. If you don't have your heels and pearls on, you do that before he walks in the door. Whatever his beverage of choice, it better be beside his chair as soon as he walks in the door. All right, let me just tell you how things go down at my house. Go ahead.
So who took care of the kids? Where did the kids go?
They just meant like send them outside to play in the yard or something.
When the women were in the factories.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. I apologize. I had switched gears on you. I got what you're saying. Okay. So it depends. It depends on the situation. If it's a poor family, chances are they might be working somewhere. They probably 9 times out of 10 are just left by themselves for the day. Because if you're a lower class family, you can't afford for somebody else to stay home and babysit. So kids at a very, very, very young age are having to take care of themselves, take care of other siblings. There's not really the option that we have today of having all these daycare facilities. And even if there were, most people couldn't afford it, especially during a time of war when money is tight. So a lot of kids taking care of themselves all day long. There is a very unfortunate situation that in the late 80s into the late 1800s into the early 1900s, that a lot of times if a family knew they couldn't take care of the kid and they didn't want to have to send them to an orphanage, they would just kick them out and you would have homeless children. And you would see that more in big cities than you would out in the country. But anyway, it's hard knock life during this time period. All right, sorry, got off task. 29 says, after World War I, why were Americans suspicious of some Union leaders? Short answer is they thought they were unpatriotic. That's the short answer. Unpatriotic. Because after the war is over, they're going to start fighting for the same things they were fighting for before, right? Better pay, better conditions, better working hours. They're going to start workers' compensation, health insurance, benefits. They're going to start fighting for those same things. And a lot of people are like, hey, man, we just finished a war. Really? That's going to be the top of your priority? You get what I'm saying. All right, last one is 30. Who won the election of 1920? I already told you. Who is he? Who is he? Harding. It is Warren G. Harding. Yep. Warren G. Harding, very interesting guy. He does coin a new word. He said, not nostrums, but normalcy. Normalcy was a new word that I feel like I use a lot right now, but that was a new word that he coined during his campaign, which goes into the second question. What was his campaign slogan? Normalcy. Getting back to normalcy. Getting back to normal. But what does he mean by that? What did we just finish?
The war, so like getting back to the way things were before, I guess.
Getting back to life. Yep, getting back to life before the war. Yeah. Okay, all right, your IDs. It's a mixture, couple words, couple people. Cost of living, you should understand that. How much basic things cost. Calvin Coolidge is the VP. VP for Harding. Harding does die at the end of his first term, so of course Coolidge will finish up. Coolidge will also have his own term in office. The Red Scare, fear of what? I've actually talked about this before. Communism. Red Scare is fear of communism. It'll happen again after World War II. I'm going to quiz you really quick. What ally falls to communism? 1917, Russia. Those are quiz questions. Okay. 34 and 35, Mitchell Palmer is going to be a senator who starts doing communist raids. And 35, J. Edgar Hoover is going to be over a new agency. FBI. Yep, FBI. Fantastic. Okay. All right. The good news is, and I know I've taken a whole lot of time today, the good news is that section 4 in your packet is fill in the blank. So we'll hit it pretty fast. So let's go through that in your packet and then we'll get ready to move on and wrap up for today for my virtual people. God bless you for hanging on with me. All right, here we go. Section 4, guided reading 16-4, fill in the blank. Number 1, when controls were removed from the economy, people raced to buy goods that had been, what's another way of saying conserved or limited? Rationed. Yes, rationed. Had been rationed while businesses rapidly raised prices kept low during the war. Number 2, workers wanted to raise their wages to keep up with inflation. That's your answer. Your answer is inflation. To keep up with inflation, but companies wanted to hold down wages instead. Number 3 says, by the time the war ended, workers were better organized and more capable of organizing this than they had been before. If you're not getting your way, what might you do? As strikes. Yep, strikes is your answer. Strikes. All right, number 4, a general strike took place in Seattle. That's your answer, Seattle. When other unions joined striking shipyard workers and paralyzed the city for 5 days. Number 5, the most famous strike of 1919 took place in Boston when roughly 70% You might want to guess 70% of this workforce walked off the job. And this is a scary situation because I would imagine like a total purge situation if these guys were gone and not working to keep law and order.
Can you say the last one, please?
Police force. Yeah, that's number 5. Number 5 is police force. 75% of the police force walked off the job. Number 4 is Seattle. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. So the workforce, or police force, excuse me, they're like, we're tired of this. We can't work for pennies a day and sacrifice, our safety. And it was actually Calvin Coolidge who was governor during the time, and he tells them, you better get back on the job right now, or I'm going to fire every one of you, because what you're doing by walking off the job is even worse. Because think about all the terrible, horrible things that can be happening while you are striking right now. How many lives are being lost? All the problems. Again, like I said, if the workforce is gone, or the law enforcement officers are gone, I just imagine like right out of like a purge movie, like looting, shooting, all the things. All right, number 6. After the war, returning soldiers blamed African Americans for taking their jobs, and in the summer of 1919, frustration and racism erupted in violence as 25 race riots, that's your answer, race riots broke out across the nation. All right, last few. Number 7, the NAACP, that's the answer, write it down, NAACP, surged in membership after the war when many African Americans decided to fight for their rights politically. Number 8, as strikes erupted across the United States in 1919, the fear that what form of government might come over? Communist. Yeah, the fear that communists might seize power led to a nationwide panic known as the Red Scare. So communist for number 8. Number 9, most people believed the bombings. That's your answer for number 9, is bombings. In June of 1919 suggested a conspiracy to destroy the American way of life. Number 10, U.S. Attorney General Mitchell Palmer established a special division within the Justice Department that eventually became known as the FBI. For number 10, FBI. Number 11, from late 1919 to the spring of 1920, the government carried out raids targeting immigrants and ignoring civil liberties. Civil, C-I-V-I-L, civil liberties. And number 12, economic problems, labor unrest, racial tensions combined to create a general sense of unease and a desire for the nation to return to normalcy. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry for you guys virtually. I didn't mean to keep you on that long. Has anybody got any questions, comments, concerns, or need me before I let you go?
What was the answer to 11?
Civil liberties.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, if you need me, hang on. If not, happy Wednesday. All right, did any of you guys miss any? Just want to make sure that I get everybody before.
The packet's not due today, right?
No, and that was another thing, and I meant